If you want to make 2025 the year of epic progress, where you become the person you've always wanted to be, and you do the things that you want to do, and you do them when you say you're going to do them, and you want it all to be aligned with your values, your strengths, and your needs, then stick around, because that is exactly what I'm going to share with you in today's video. We are going to plan 2025 together using AI. I'm going to keep it super simple and streamlined. We're going to create a vision for the year ahead, but then I'm going to show you how to chunk out the first couple of months so that you have a runway of progress and you can continue to build on that throughout the year. And we're also going to do it in a way where we create support and structure for ourselves so that we actually follow through on what we intend to do. Because if you're anything like me, you have a tendency to write down all your goals at the beginning of the year, close the book, put it away, and then promptly forget all about it. But not this year, and we're going to get into it right now. Okay, as promised, I'm going to keep this super simple so you can take action on it right away. It's not going to be overwhelming, and it's not going to take that much time, but it is going to help you think about the year that you just had, reflect on how things felt, and then from there, create a vision for the year that you want this year that is custom tailored to you specifically. So as you'll see here, I have a simple list of prompts that we're going to go through. First of all, thinking about 2024, what were the high and low points? Like, when did you feel really good? When did you not feel good? And what was happening around those time points? Personally, I know that I felt best when I was around family and friends and we were doing things together. I probably felt the worst or my lowest when I was stuck in this office with really unrealistic deadlines that I had put upon myself, to the point where I overworked myself, got burned out, and got sick 3 times in a row. And you can probably hear that in my voice right now. So that is a quick reflection on my year. Now take a few minutes to think about the same for yourself and go into as much detail as you want. The next thing I want you to do is take some time to think about where you have seen gains in your work life, your personal life, and in your health. I love those 3 buckets because they're super simple and everybody's life falls into those categories in one way or the other. But I want you to specifically think about gains being who you were at the beginning of the year versus who you were now. So what skills have you learned? What have you grown or developed or created? What limiting beliefs have you managed to get past? Any area of your life where you have seen some notable gain is worth writing down and taking a minute to appreciate that you are someone who continues to grow and develop as a human being. For me, this year, I've seen a ton of gain in myself as an entrepreneur, both in my level of skill, but also my mindset and how I approach what I do. I can see that I've learned so much about marketing and strategy and coaching and how those new learnings have been integrated into what I'm doing and is improving what I'm doing. So as I see that, I take a minute to appreciate the richness of life, that even though my lowest points were when I was locked in my office, just like on my computer too long, I can also see that there was some benefit or silver lining to that, rather than just looking at the low points of your life and feeling bad that you had them, because we all have low points, right? And of course, your gains don't necessarily have to relate to your low points or your high points, but you probably will see some correlation there. So take some time to write down, how have you developed as a person, as an employee or a business owner, or somebody who works in the home with your family? And also, and probably most importantly, where have you seen gains in your health and your well-being? This is probably one of the most important steps you'll take in the whole reflection period, so don't skip it. The next question is, what did you love doing in 2024 that you would like to do more of in 2025? And if that feels like too big of a question, I would again break it down into those buckets of personal life, work life, and well-being and health. In my own life, I really tried to up-level my meditation practice. That did not go very well, but for what I did do, even though it was really imperfect, I would love to do more of it next year because it really helped me. Also, just my yoga practice in general really grounds me. So even though those practices weren't great in terms of consistency this year, the net benefit of them was so great that I want to double down on it in 2025. And then conversely, what is it that you didn't love doing in 2024 that you would like to do less of in 2025? And once you have those reflections, we're then going to take that information and move into visioning for the year ahead. And when I talk about visioning, I'm talking like big picture. As a North Star, where do you want to be? How do you want to feel? What do you want to have? And what do you want to have accomplished this time next year? So take some time to do that now and give yourself that big picture vision of what you want next year to look like. And really make sure that whatever it is feels good. It's not something you think you should be next year, but rather something that would be completely awesome if this happened next year. And it doesn't have to be big or grandiose. Sometimes the smaller things are even better as long as they are meaningful for you. And then the next thing I want you to ask yourself is, in terms of whatever it is that you want to accomplish next year, do you need to have goals? Because not all of us need to set goals. In fact, some of us don't like setting goals or even feel triggered by setting goals because we've set so many in the past and never did anything about them, yours truly included. So if goals doesn't feel good to you, then maybe you want to think about what is an intention that you can set for yourself that will move you towards that vision of the future. Or maybe it's more tactical, like creating different routines or systems that will ensure that you get there without you having to think about every step along the way. Because if you're an ADHDer like me, very often you can set a goal and have all of these various steps that you just completely forget. So ask yourself, do I want and need to make goals this year, or do I just want to set an intention of how I want to show up? Or is it a set of systems and routines that will bring me towards that goal without me having to push myself forward all the time? And just a little insight from my own life, when I think about the big accomplishments that I've made and the things that I've pushed myself to do and then stayed at that level, like for example, I lost 80 pounds when I was in my early 20s and I have kept it off. I'm still the same weight now that I was then. And that had nothing to do with a goal or even really an intention. It was systems and habits that I set up that keep going in the background and keep me at that healthy weight. And the same is true for a lot of the other habits that I've developed in my life. Once you get a habit set up, which can be very difficult for some of us, but once it's there, it runs in the background and it propels you forward rather than you having to like drag yourself towards a goal all the time. So really think about what are some potential systems or routines that you could set up so they are running in the background and not only help you reach your goal, but then maintain it as well. Whatever system you decide to use is fine. Just make sure you answer the following 3 questions as you're doing that. Number 1, does whatever this goal or intention I've set for myself align to my values? Number 2, does it align to my needs? And number 3, how can I use my personal strengths to support this endeavor and make sure that I actually follow through with it? If you're not clear on your values, strengths, and needs, you can either take some time to really think through that, or if you want some guidance and structure, I will leave a link below to a series of emails that I can send you that will help you walk through that process. Now that I've done my reflections and I'm confident about what I want to move forward on, this is where I like to lean on AI to help me break down those big visions into specific goals. Because again, if you struggle with executive functions, as I do, then planning, organization, and even prioritizing what to do first can be really difficult. And AI can help you not only think through that process, but plan it out on a week-to-week basis so you actually get it done. So I will show you how to do that in one of my favorite AI tools called Perplexity. I pay for the paid version because I think it's 100% worth it, but everything we do here, you can pretty much do in the free version as well. So rather than typing all this out, I'm going to actually voice record it because it's just going to go by faster. And I'm going to use an example I shared earlier around leaning into yoga and meditation more in 2025. So this is how I would voice dump into Perplexity. I would like you to act as my life coach, and I want you to help me formulate a plan for 2025 based on a vision that I'm going to share with you. And I'm also going to share my strengths and values and needs and what's important to me. And then I would like to have you help me plan out at least the first few months of the year so that I have some momentum, and then we'll move on further through the year. So first, a few things to know about me. My values are meaningful work, inner peace and harmony, health, financial stability, and growth. My top strengths are love of learning, gratitude, and hope. And some of my personal needs include feeling accomplished, being physical throughout the day, and feeling at peace and aligned with all the work that I do. So next year, my word for the year, if you will, is really peace and contentment. And my goal or intention is to double down on my yoga and meditation practice. So I would love you to help me create a plan to really deepen my practice next year. I'd like to do a physical practice at least 4 times a week. Are you still listening to me? So I verbally recorded everything in a Perplexity, but just a heads up, at some point it did just pause. So it won't allow you to go on and on for minutes on end, but it did save everything I recorded. And then I just came here and typed out the rest. Basically what I wanted it to do is act as my life coach and, let's say, yoga teacher, spiritual teacher, to help me formulate a plan for deepening my yoga practice next year, thinking about not only just practicing the physical act of yoga, but meditation, learning more about it, some dietary recommendations, and a way to stay on track. That's what I asked it for because that's the kind of support that I needed. I also informed it of my strengths, needs, and values and asked it to support me in any way it could. So here's what it gave me. A pretty lame yoga and meditation practice I could do better myself, which is fine. It also gave me a pretty good reading list. I've read most of this. There's a few I could definitely add to my reading list for next year. It gave me some nutrition suggestions, which is, again, pretty high level, but I could definitely take that further and ask it to build out meal plans for me. In terms of measuring progress, it says keep a journal, habit track, monthly check-ins, quarterly reviews, and then it gives me a high-level quarterly plan on how to map all of that out. So overall, the first draft of recommendations is pretty basic, and that's my fault. I should have told it that I have been, practicing for years and I'm already pretty advanced, so it would take me to a greater level of specificity. So this is how I would structure an intention. And if I want to get more specific, I would go back and forth on how to build systems and routines to actually implement that. Now, if I wanted to do something more specific, like a goal of running a marathon, I would take a completely different approach. Let me show you how I would do that. Now I would like you to help me create a marathon plan. I want to run a marathon on March 30th. Today it is December 3rd, so I have roughly 4 months to train. I have never run a marathon before. I used to run half marathons, but I haven't done so in years. So I would like you to treat me as a beginner runner, but yet someone who has a regular fitness routine. I would like to run no more than 4 times a week because I want time to cross train. I want to make sure that I am protecting my knees. And I would like you to give me a week by week plan of what to run, how to run it, what to wear, how I should fuel my runs, what to eat before my runs, what to eat after the runs. Please note my dietary restrictions. I'm pescatarian with a little bit of chicken, but I don't eat any red meat. And I like to keep things super simple. So maybe you could give me like a Sunday meal plan that I can prep for the week ahead. How can I track my progress? What would you recommend there? And I want you to talk to me as an expert running coach who has been doing this for years. All right, there's my verbal input. And you'll see that Perplexity has done a bunch of research. And now it's going to answer as though it were an expert running coach. It's given me a training schedule and some suggestions on how to protect my knee. It's given me a fueling strategy and a weekly meal prep list and a way to track progress. Now, given that I do have a background in running, I can say that this is a pretty high level plan, but it's a decent one. At this point, I would probably ask it to be more specific in terms of the various training runs that I have to do and perhaps pull together a calendar of dates and when I should do each run, and then continue to ask it to develop my meal plan based on the actual days that I'm going to be doing the running. And then if I were actually to do this, which I'm not because your girl is never going to run a marathon, I would actually check in with it on a weekly basis to report back on my progress, how I'm feeling, what needs to be adjusted. And while this is not as good as having a real running coach in person, it can come pretty damn close. So now that we have an overview, let's ask it to break down what we need to get done over the next 4 weeks. And then I'm going to show you how I would transfer that into my planning system. Okay, so I asked it to give me a very specific to-do list for just next week on my running, my meal plan, and anything I need to buy to get started. So again, it did its research and came back with a running schedule, a shopping list, a meal plan prep for Sunday, and then a daily task list. So now what I'll do is pull up my planner system and actually start plugging in the things that need to get done. For example, Tuesday, easy run 4 miles. And then I would put in the time that it would take to get ready to go for my run, actually do the run, and then do my cool down afterwards. And it's definitely in alignment with what I want to do. And it would be my first priority of this day. And then I would continue to go through each of those areas just for week 1 and plug it into my calendar. Once I have the whole thing done, then I know exactly how much time I am dedicating to this very specific goal, from the times I'm actually spending running, to the daily non-negotiables, to shopping for meal prep and actually getting it done. All of the things that need to get done in one single week in order to achieve that goal is then planned into my planner, and I'm either going to do it or I'm not going to do it. But because I've planned it in advance and I know how much time it's going to take, if I don't do it, then that is an intentional choice rather than me just forgetting I ever set the goal in the first place. So that is why I love the power of AI to help you plan either your big goals for the year or just intentions for how you want to show up on a daily basis. The most important thing of all of this is that whatever you create with AI, you have got to make sure that it ends up in your planner. As you guys know, I use Notion for my planning. If you're interested in my actual layouts and planning structure, I will link it below, but use whatever works for you, that you will continue to show up and check in on every single day throughout the week. And you will be amazed at how much further you will get towards your goals using AI as your thinking partner and planner and organizer. So that's what I've got for you this week, guys. There's a million different ways that you can use AI, but I just wanted to show you a very simple way to get started on the year ahead so that you can become unrecognizable.